So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, the pros of iPhone 14 Pro Max. Now, these are going to be pros for the 14 Pro as well, mostly, but I want to share with you what I've loved about this phone after using it for several months now. I did cover the cons the other day, but I want to be a little bit more fair here now and give you my pros. So the first one is related to the camera system, and it's a specific feature that definitely will be appreciated by professional photographers, and that's going to be the bokeh this phone can produce. Now you'll have to kind of bring things a little bit closer in, but then when you take the shot, let's go ahead and take the shot, it's not going to be no Sony Alpha camera, but you can see it just blurs the background automatically quite a bit more than prior iPhones. That's something that could annoy some people if you want everything in frame, like to be super clear. But at the same time, this also really helps to make this phone feel more pro. I really enjoyed that. When you bring subjects close, you get a nice background blur on this. And yes, you can use portrait mode on other phones to blur the background, but it's a really good main sensor on here. The next one is the blistering fast performance. Now, I don't care what you're doing here day to day, this thing is just incredibly fast. It's awesome. So this is one of the reasons why, even if other phone makers come out with some impressive phones, Apple still can compete, even though they haven't really been changing up the overall phone a ton. They just have really good performance on there, and it's very noticeable day to day. It's just always blazing fast and always reliable. You can always trust on it. And for that reason, it's kind of like you don't even think about it anymore. The phone just works. You expect it to work and you don't think about it. It just always works. It kind of just gives you this level of, satisfaction with the performance. Now, the next one is just the level of polish continues, to be great on the iPhone, even though it's kind of like getting a little boring. We want to see something different. I want to see something different. With the next version of iOS, it still feels like a polished operating system. When you're using the iPad, you're using this, you're using a MacBook, using an Apple TV, everything just kind of works well together still. And other platforms and other software are getting close to this, but just not quite there yet fully. I think the closest is getting there is Samsung for sure, but also with Google's system as well. But the iOS experience is still very polished right here. You can see you're always getting updates. I was supposed to do this yesterday, but I didn't get to it yet. But this software update, just keeps coming in very fast all the time. I really love that. Next one is having the car crash detection and satellite connectivity emergency SOS. I mean, this is a feature that it's hard to describe. It's more psychological. It's a sense of peace of mind in the back of your head, knowing you have these features. Hopefully you never have to use them, but if you do, they could be potentially life-saving. So that's a pretty cool thing to have. The next one is arguably better than Android, and that is the always-on display. Now, the reason I say that is because the always-on display on this phone, you can show the widgets as well. So if I go over here and I go to display, you can see always on display, show wallpapers, notifications, and it shows the widgets. So potentially not all of them, but some Android phones don't show all this information at once and they're always on display. So this is arguably could be better. They also made it a little bit darker since the last updates. You can turn off the wallpaper, make it black. So that's good as well. It's getting better, and Apple's listening to those complaints. The next one is Dynamic Island is fun to use for the most part. There's a lot of usages, timers, when you get phone calls, you can answer them. And when your focus modes do enable, they pop up there. It's just kind of a cool feature to use. Yes, to me, I don't really like the way it looks in terms of watching video and stuff like that. It is a way to block out, make a little pill and type inside of my content, but it's not the end of the day. So definitely Dynamic Island has been a joy as something new to use for sure. So that's a pro of this phone. Now, the battery life on this phone is also a pro, provided that you don't crank the brightness up all the way. So I've had, very good battery life on this phone. I'm talking full day of usage very easily However, if I do go too high on the brightness, I am definitely charging this in the later part of the day. So I don't tend to jack it all the way up, or I probably will need a little bit more charge. Other than that, it's pretty much like the other Max phones. It gets through the full day and it's pretty darn good. It's not better than the iPhone 13 Pro Max's battery life though. That thing was more impressive. And I think this year with the upcoming upgrades to the iPhone 14 Pro Max, Apple is going to take a focus on improving the battery efficiency of the next model. Now, this is also another great feature here of the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and that is the signal strength. So the signal strength on this phone is pretty incredible as well. So I never really have low bars unless I'm in the subway or something, and I have 5G in a lot of locations. Now, I know this is not something a lot of people think about too much, but I just have to mention that in the past, the iPhones just weren't as good in the signal strength. I was always talking about my Samsung phones being better. They just were better at the time. Now Apple is doing really good here. The overall phone strength and signal strength is superb. The next thing that is superb is the audio performance on this phone. From the bottom and the top, it's actually louder than prior iPhones. I found that to be a great pro of this device, superb audio. So overall, we have a ton of pros here after using it. I didn't really mention the design too much, although it is a premium, nice build. The Phantom Black is beautiful on this phone. You know, it just kind of, it's not something I want to label as something as a major pro, because you've already had this design on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, 13 Pro Max, and somewhat on the 11 Pro Max. Not the squared edges, but pretty similar overall. So it doesn't really get a pro there, but really good, you know, cameras on board, really good battery life, really good signal strength, polished software, fast performance. I mean, it just works. You know, it's nothing overly special. It's nothing over the top. You know, this is a really strong, you know, outing for Apple here. But I do want to see something different with the software. You know, split screen, that's lame. I want to see that it's not here. I want to see that next. I want to see, you know, maybe something that looks a little different. We keep getting the same look every year. It's time for something a little bit different going forward. But if you have the 14 Pro, Pro Max, 14 Plus, 14, please share any of your pros that you've enjoyed with them down below in the comments section. If you found this video helpful, entertaining, informing, do me a favor, click the like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.